guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me tonight. It's been a while since I've done a live, man. I have to brush up on some of my skills. Trying to get the dog settled here with me, and as per usual, she's going to make it challenging for me, but that's okay. We'll try and see if we can get some people. Oh, we got people here already. Awesome. Okay, so we'll wait for a couple more people, but yeah, thanks for joining the stream. It's good to be back. So my agenda for tonight, where is my notes? So obviously the main reason why we're all here is the latest rumor on the Camaro being back. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on, the whole rumor mill and all that, what we could potentially see. And then I'm going to ask for your input in the comments, as always, as to what you think. But if you're new here, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I have to change I haven't done this in a while, so I got to update that. We're also going to cover at the tail end before we finish the channel name change and everything going like that going forward. So we got 4 people in the watching. We got nobody in the chat yet. I know my wife is in the background. Thank you, Kelly, for doing everything you do in the background and helping. I think she's keeping an eye on the Facebook stuff because we stream it to Facebook. And I'm just looking to see if it's going. Let me see. Click it here. Just give me 1 sec, guys. Let me see. I don't know. We'll figure that out in a minute. So Camaro's back. I mean, that's exciting news. I've got a lot of you. I've seen a few of you question, is it more clickbait? And we'll get to the clickbait part in a second. I tend to believe that it's true. There's too many people who've picked this story up, and too many automotive journalists, automotive news, Motor Trend. Some of them are kind of known for, a little bit of clickbait stuff, but too many sources have picked this up to say, yeah, this is not clickbait. What I believe is clickbait is the comment about what you might not expect. I think that's clickbait, or could be perceived as clickbait. What I would like to know after I give you my notes or my comments is what you guys think and what we'll see. So some of you may be asking, why discontinue that car 2 years ago, give or take, and what needs to be different this time? Well, I think all of us will agree that car needs to have better advertising, and it needs to have way better marketing. I mean, Cadillac V-Spec gets more advertising than the Camaro ever did. The Bolt now, the Bolt sort of is driven to a different audience, but I seriously think the marketing and the advertising needs to be stepped up a few notches. The car really never did well. I mean, if you look at the I'm just going to pull up some specs or some stats here for you guys. Just give me 1 second. Gen Camaro. No, that's not what I want. the car never really did well. And I'm gonna put this up on the screen. Share screen. So the first year of the sixth generation, 42,000 units were sold in the first 7 months. That is what could be considered a failure compared to the first year fifth generation. Now, the first year fifth generation was different. The car was gone for 7 or 8 years at that point, and the hype was a lot different. But there was a movie that seriously helped it. But that car never really recovered from 42,000 was really the height of it, and then you figure in the pandemic, which did not help things at all, but it really it did not recover, and then add to that poor marketing. It was a recipe for failure. So I think that the marketing needs to seriously change in a new design because it was too much like the fifth gen. Let me go to the comments here and see if there's any comments. No. Okay. The other thing that I have is, again, I said about the new change. I think this car needs to have a different drastic look. It can't be anything like the old body style of the fifth and the sixth, but I don't know how you get around that. Even Mustang went after the same look as the sixth gen. Those two cars look a lot alike when you take away the front and rear of the vehicle. So I've always said the roofline needs to be higher. If you've watched any of the rendering videos that I did recently, I said that roofline needs to increase, make the roofline higher, and make the C-pillar bigger to take away some of the rear visibility issues that everybody complains about, and sort of make those shoulders narrower, which they were in the sixth gen. They weren't as bad from 5 to 6. But those are the two big things that I think that were going to help it. Maybes. I'm gonna put a poll here, just to gather some information, and you guys can let me know what you would do. Can I move this? No, I can't move it. So if the Camaro comes back not as expected, what would you consider supporting? A hybrid V8 model or a four-door model? I don't see this car coming back strictly as a hybrid. I can see it coming back like how the Corvette is marketed as two vehicles, a ZR1 and a ZR1X. I don't see it as one model being a hybrid. It's not the model by itself. I will tell you that I've said in different people's chats, I could see it coming back as a four-door, and I'll tell you why, because it expands the offering to more potential buyers. And I know that a lot of people are not a fan of it, but I could see it possibly, if that not as expected comment is true, which I still think is the clickbait part, I could see it coming back maybe as a four-door. I still don't buy it. I still think it comes back as a coupe to compete with Mustang. That's up to GM to decide how they're going to figure that out. But just click on the rest of my notes here. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I don't see a lot of comments here yet. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you guys support a four-door versus, if it was coming back as a four-door as opposed to a coupe, would you support it, or would you support a hybrid, as we put in the poll there. You know, I think this honestly was leaked intentionally. There's not much of the old playbook that is left because so many of them are retired, but this fits the old playbook that I remember back in the days. I believe it was intentionally leaked with very little information. Now, a lot of people don't believe it, and I know Jim's one of them, and that's okay. I expect that you will hear something from GM sometime in the next 3 months. You would have to, because if this car is coming out if this car is being built in 27 as a 28 model, like Jim said in his video the other day, they have a lot of work to do. Now, it's realistically, it's just a revised Gen 6 car. It's being built on basically the same platform. They already have most of that in place, right? Yeah. Now the bodies will need to be safety tested and all that. I don't think that takes long. Not when you have the infrastructure already. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But I think we need to hear something within the next 30 days to 3 months, officially from GM, for everybody to buy in. What's that? Jim is right. Everyone's carrying on about this except GM. I honestly, Andrew, I think it's like I just said. I don't know if you missed it. I think it was leaked intentionally for the point of to see what the feel is going to be. I mean, everybody knows. GM already knows, and we know that GM watches our channels, or most of them. Okay. GM already knows that there's a vast amount of people who want this car back, right? But I think this was intentionally leaked to see, just to make sure, yeah, is the vibe still there for the car? And I think if you follow the trends with GM, the last time they disappeared and came back, they came back at a time when Mustang sales were not great. And they, is that a sign? I don't know. It just, if you look back when the 5th gen come out and you look back at releases that when the 6th gen come out, if you look at those times, some of the Mustang sales were not great when those cars came out. Neither option for me, but if I had any small children, I'd accept a 4-door V8. Yeah, fair enough, Jim. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of excitement about this car. And I know there's some people that just said, you know what, just let it die. But I think as long as Ford's building a Mustang, and I think there's always going to be that, want for competition, right? Healthy competition is good for both manufacturers. And now the styling, what's the styling going to look like? Like the Charger. Why I say, hold on, let me add this, okay? And I said this in Jim's chat the other day, right? Nobody thought a 4-door Charger would ever sell, and Chargers were never 4 doors; they were always 2 doors. Nobody thought a 4-door Charger would ever sell, and they sold like crazy because they defied the odds and came out with a 4-door Charger. And when that Charger left, and they tried to give us the new Charger, yes, because it was electric, that had a lot to do with it. But that had a lot to do with it. Now, I'm not saying that that's what they're going to go. I'm just saying a 4-door option, like I said in Jim's chat, would not be a horrible idea, right? I don't think this thing's coming back as an SUV. Again, I'm sure there's going to be a hybrid option there somewhere, but it's not coming back as the main model. This is not coming back as an SUV. GM or the people at GM. While I don't agree with some of the stuff they do, they're not that stupid. Okay, let me just say that. Let me get caught up in some comments here. Andrew says, okay, I've heard a lot about this. You think I'll come back as a cheap CTSV Blackwing? Maybe. I don't see where any lessons have been learned with regard to marketing. If they build it, I don't see where they were. Yeah, I don't know. I think there could be some lessons taken from the Bolt. You know, and I don't see this as, I don't even know if I see this as a long-term game. I mean, they brought the Bolt back, and from what I've heard, it's a 2 to 3 year plan for this Bolt that currently just came back. But they marketed it for, I don't know, over a year on the second, or I guess that would be the third generation now. So, and it's only on a 2 or 3 year skit, and then apparently it's going away again. So I don't even know. I think has to be I think this has to be at least a 5 year plan if they're bringing this car back. Andrew says marketing. What's that? Yeah, no doubt. Finnegan says has to be 2-door, needs to offer the manual too. Had a 2022 one LE and loved it. If they come back with one, I'm ordering one. I'm actually on the waiting list to be called if they get the word. I don't know the numbers, but I don't know the first 4-door Chargers are selling well. With a wide body, it looked pretty dope, I think. Yeah. What's this one? I heard between the Cadillac and Next Gen Camaro, they are planning 60,000 units annually. I don't know. What's the CTS? Because I don't want to go back and forth. Can somebody Google what the CTSV or the CT5 or I guess CT5, I guess CT4 V spec is annually? I think it's 40,000, 35,000 a year, maybe, give or take. I would say that's probably a realistic number, Andrew. I would say it's probably a realistic number. So I'm going to get rid of this poll and get this thing out of the way. I don't even know. Anyways, whatever. I'm trying to mess around with some stuff, and I messed up. So my wife and I have a paid plan on StreamYard, and I somehow logged it in. I somehow screwed it up and logged this live on the free plan, so I can't do a lot of things that I had, which is just pissing me off. But anyways, whatever. I'll get over it. The janitor at major GM parts supplier that gave us the info must be pretty well informed. Yeah, listen, Jim. You know what? I can see this. I can understand the speculation because of all the what-isms that's happened in the last, say, 12 months with this car. I still think there's more. I still think that it's actually happening. I never got that vibe from the rest of it. But so, like I've said previously, so many of the big automotive journalist guys have picked us up. I don't see that it's not going to happen. And we know that they've said that it's, and it's not done. Hold on, I got to control the dog. Sit. Yeah. Sit down. Sorry, guys. Him himself has said that the car is not done. So I do tend to believe it. And like I said, I honestly believe that it was intentionally leaked. Google says just under 19,000 in 2023. Okay, it's lower than I thought it would be. to be honest, for the Cadillacs. It's the best Kinder get. Yeah, 100%. Great. And again, I understand the speculation. I do. But I think it's going to happen for sure. I would, and again, I would expect us to see something in the next 30 days to 3 months. Right? We would have to. If this car is being built next year, they got a lot of work ahead of them. That puts it into the summer. You could see some capture test fleet vehicles on the road late summer. If anybody's near the testing grounds, right, keep an eye out over there because that's where it's going to happen. Let me just go back in here. So just want to put this up. I never like asking for it, but if anybody wants to support channel, QR codes there. You can buy us a coffee on Ko-fi, and I still don't have the channel monetized because I wasn't consistent enough. And I will tell you that my goal this year is to really turn things around, and we will get to the channel stuff later. But we're here to talk about the car. So, question I'm going to put out there is, what does this car resemble? I guess that is the biggest question I have. What does this car resemble? Does it look like a modern? I'm going to use it. I'm just going to put it out there because I have nothing to reference it by. Is it going to resemble the modern day Mustang, Dark Horse, whatever? Is it going to keep that kind of coupe style with the shoulders? I don't know. That's the part that we don't know, right? That design has been around for, oh God, it's been around for almost 20 years now. So, I think it's time for a refresh, but what do you refresh it as? And I would like to get your guys' feedback on it. Andrew says Lethal Garage is estimating 2029 before units land at dealerships. This is the first Camaro Mary Barrow was involved, so I'm scared of it, honestly. Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, Mary's been there, not directly in charge, but Mary's been with GM a long time. She's been there 30 years. Now, does she have anything directly involved with the last generation? Maybe. I don't know. I tried to get Scott on tonight, but Scott's down in North Carolina at a GM show and said to send his regards to you guys. Not that Scott would tell us anything, but, and I did put it up in the post when, we had some conversations with Scott, and I think we were on the cave when we were talking about it, or it might have been one of my videos, but Scott had made a comment about 2028, and I didn't really believe it. I thought we'd see it sooner. And when I asked him about that comment, he didn't really reply because I'm sure Scott may know a few things and can't elaborate, and that's okay. But it's almost like he knew something without really saying it. So that's another reason why I think that this is for real. Andrew says Scott knows his shit. He's not fooling with us. No, you're right. He's not. He's not. But I think that Scott has to be very careful, and if you know Scott as well as I do, and as well as some of you do, you'll know. You'll know it when you see it, and I didn't put a lot of stock into it. I kind of, when it comes to this car, he's been around it for so long. I kind of trust what he says, and it was interesting now that I look back at that comment after seeing this. as to what he thought. Again, with the new V8s coming out, it's interesting that that I seen a comment somewhere. I think it was maybe Camaro Fest or something about the a budget V8 car, kind of like an LT1, if you will, right? It would bring a huge smile on my face and see your next setup at the podium and announce the V8 V8 Camaro Coupe. The look on her face would be priceless. Absolutely. Um, I, you know what? You know what I want to do? I want to give me 1 second. So I was looking on Facebook today, and GM Jeff had did a AI um, had did an AI thing of a Camaro. Now it's a 4-door. I don't know if you guys seen it. Um, okay, whatever. What's going on here? Oh, is it coming out? No, it's not going to happen. All right, give me 1 sec here. So I'm going to put it up on my phone because I can't get the file to open. But I did like the look of it, other than being a 4-door. I did like the look of it. I thought it was impressive. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that. Oh, there you go. Okay, so this is what GM Jeff put up on Facebook. I guess he did an AI rendering of it, and I thought it looked pretty good, other than being a 4-door. I thought it looked pretty good. So I don't know. Maybe that's an option. Again, with the without the 4 doors, a raised roof, right? And it says, "Hell yeah, Jim. What do you think of the new LS6?" I don't know enough about it. I'll be honest. I haven't really followed it a lot yet. I like the sound of it, but again, I haven't followed it enough, Andrew, to actually comment on it. Well, you know what? I use it. I don't really like using it. I use it when I need to, but I don't really like it. It does look a little. It's got a little bit of Charger-esque, if you will. I guess this thing's just not going to. I guess this thing is just not going to open for me. Anyways, I'm sure you guys, most of you have seen it on Facebook. It's got a little bit of Charger-esque to it. I'll admit. I'll see if I can find it on here quick, because that picture doesn't really do any good. Yeah, so here, I'll just share this with you guys quick. Share screen. So that's the one that Jeff did. It does look a little bit like a Charger, and I think that's because of the center bar, right? Not crazy fond of the rear end. The interior is about what I expected and what I have seen, what I've said in the past. Let me get that down here. And I like the hood. I think if we could do something with the center, I think it would be all right. So I like the Porter cars. I just I don't know. Yeah, I know the tail. Sorry, yeah, I know the taillights are horrible. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think I could live with a 4-door over a hybrid. That's for sure. Um, looks like a Charger with Camry lights. I don't even know the Camry lights would. Yeah, I don't even know if Camry lights would describe it. It's not. Overall, I like it. Needs a lot of fixing, but Finnegan says I agree. I got too much equipment in my hair. I got a mic and a camera, and so I'm trying to read the screen here. Pro Driver 33 says just joined. Hello, fellow Camaro owners and fans. Welcome, Pro Driver 33. Thank you for joining us. We were just kind of recapping about what the car should look like, or what it could look like, what we expect. And again, I haven't seen a lot of you say what your expectations of what this car could resemble. Again, my thing was, raise the roof line and improve the C-pillar and get rid of some of the shoulders. I would say, honestly, Andrew, that needs to be, when I did the poll there a couple of weeks ago for you guys, I would say that needs to be sub 40,000. And the car was already sub 40,000 for an LT1. Jim, if you're all right with sharing it, what was the rough price of your LT1 when you bought it? I think it was sub 40,000. For you guys, it was sub 40,000 up here, but I believe it was sub 40,000 for the LT1, and I think that's where it needs to be. Pro Driver says, I'm so worried about EV replacing V8. I don't see that happening. I'd said earlier to the guys, I see it. I see a hybrid I can see a hybrid as a model, a sub model, but I don't see it as the main model. Not that, not that I don't think it would be okay if done right. I did a video on a Mach-E on Kelmar 2 that didn't do well, and that's okay because I wanted to put something up there because I've been putting it up there over a while. So I took that car for a drive. Aside from it being called a Mustang, that car actually drives pretty well for an electric vehicle, but it has its market, right? I think keeping the Mustang off it and just calling it a Mach-E would have done Ford a lot better, but I know why Ford did it from a marketing perspective. Finnegan says, I don't think they need to change too much. The Camaro is a good looking car. I agree, Finnegan, but I don't have a problem with it. I didn't own a 6th gen, but I owned a 5th gen, and there was a lot of complaints about the rear hips and the poor visibility. We didn't have, certainly for the first half of the 5th gen, we didn't have backup cameras and blind spot monitoring and all that, where the 6th gen cars did. You just kind of got used to the car and its surrounding. And I think that a lot of people use that as an excuse. And the Mustang's no different. I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe you sit higher in the Mustang. I don't really know because I haven't driven a new one. The two cars are so similar. I don't understand why we weren't hearing as much complaints about that car as we did with the Camaro. But I agree. It was a good looking car, but I think for it to sell better, marketing alone is not going to do it. That car needs to be changed to some extent. 43,000 after options, including auto transmission. Okay, thanks, Jim. I think it needs to be maybe not sub 40, but it can't be much above 40, in my opinion, as an MSRP, Andrew, to get back to your question. Mine would have been 39,000. Okay, so par 40, sub 40. I'd like to keep it a coupe and medium size as it was. I love my 2021 SS1 LE 6-speed and would just like another one. Mine was sticker 48, and I bought it for 42. Sorry, I'm just trying to read this. And I worked at the dealership and bought it. Nice. Yeah, I agree. I think that another thing that I will tell you that I think needs to be fixed is the GM ordering system. You know, a lot of people went into dealerships and went to put money down on a car that they could not order. That needs to change. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure Ford does it better than GM, but I personally know at least six to 10 people that emailed me when all that was going on and said, Mark, I went to put money down to order the car and I could not order it because they didn't have allocation. That needs to change. If you want to go in and buy a car and you're willing to put your money down, then GM should be willing to take it. And that was a lot of the reason why, personally, why the 6-digit numbers were so horrible, because there were so many people that wanted to order cars that couldn't. Camaro 6 Alpha chassis is going to be super tough to improve on. Well, Andrew, I don't know the difference between the Alpha and the Alpha 2, but I can't imagine there'd be much difference between the two. I can't imagine there'd be much difference between the two, right? That was horrible. We had people calling for allocations all over the country. Yeah, exactly. And there's prime example, like he was saying, right? There's proof right there, right? People were calling from all over for allocations, right? Jim says they may need to do more redesign rather than update. Enough people complained they look too similar 5th to 6th and 6th gen refresh, in my opinion. Yeah, again, for those that are just joining us, we were talking about, I put a question out to you guys, and that was, what should this car resemble? Because I think the Gen 6, Gen 5 era needs to be gone. We need a whole different look. And I know listen, for those that were following my redesign video, we'll try and get it here for you. I'll put it in the chat. That redesign video, I know I threw a lot of options at you guys, and but it took a lot of work to do that, and I was trying to see what would stick, right? Copy that. I'll put this in the chat. If you haven't seen this video, go check it out. I threw a lot of options at you guys, and I think the Gen 5, Gen 6 era look needs to go. We need a whole different look. Some people were saying retro, and you know what? I'll be honest. I'm not against a retro look. I think it just needs to be a different retro look. I think Dodge did a fantastic job on that Charger with the retro look. I think the only mistake they made was making it electric first. They should have come out with that gas car, had people enjoy the car, and then introduce an electric car for those who've seen the car. But doing it electric, it did them no favors. But it sounds like they're getting things back on track over at Stellantis with having Mopar Jesus back and all that. So, Andrew says, ordering system, yeah, destination fees, $2,600. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get any cheaper, Andrew. That's the thing, right? I think you could see, it won't be long before you'll see 3,000 destination charge, just with everything going on with the cost of fuel and whatnot, right? Even I was hoisted out of my next car, 2023 ZL1 6-speed. When I ordered it, assembly shut down before it went through. Yeah, and that's the problem, right? That was another problem. right? People who actually put their money down and then they shut production down those few times. I don't know. Like, I don't know how you guys dealt with it, to be honest. Um, Gen 2 can also support EV build too. Well, here's what I'm going to say. Okay. Um, it's okay if you're against EVs. I personally think there's a place for it all. I'll be honest. Okay. In my new job, new role, whatever, I'm on the road all day, and I did consider us getting an EV because it would save me a lot of fuel, and I could charge it at home and whatnot, and it would cost me next to nothing in comparison. Um, I think there's a place for everything, but again, that's a whole different conversation that I think we don't need to worry about with this car. This car is not coming as an EV. This car is coming as a gas car. It's minimum going to have the new 5.7 in it as an entry model, I believe, and then it'll have, like, on the V8 side. Forget the six and the fours. I'm strictly talking about the V8 option. It's minimum going to have that 5.7 in it. It may have that new LS6 or I don't know if it'll have a 6.6 in it. It might. I think it'll be 5.7 as the base model, and LS6 is the upgrade. But I think there's a place for everything, Jim. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, right? That's just my opinion. That's why I sold my 2021 SS1 LE. I got a guy from Massachusetts who offered me way more than I paid. And you know what? I know you're not the only one. I've had a couple of friends who bought them, and the money was so good for them that they couldn't turn down not selling it. I have a friend who lives a couple hours from here who had bought one, said he would never sell it until somebody put a large amount of money in front of him. And he said, okay, there you go. Bring back the catfish. Yeah. I don't disagree with that, Jim. An upgraded version of the catfish? I don't, it's funny because I kind of like the 93 to 97 look, but then, I think that for me, I think the perfect car might be 97 because it's got the older exterior and the upgraded interior. It just doesn't have the right motor in it. I'm not a big LT1 or Gen 2 LT1 fan. I was more LS1, but I don't disagree with that. That's not a bad idea, Jim. Andrews says, hell yeah, Jim. That's my comment. So that is the rendering video that I put out about a month ago. When was that? That was 2 months ago. I put it a couple months ago. I threw a lot of stuff at you guys. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go check it out and leave me a comment as to what you think. Third gen retro look would work for me. Interesting. When I did a poll for the guys on the channel, I had suggested a hatchback, and some were for it, and most were against it. Because I think, you know what, hatchback. I think hatchback with a fastback look might not be a bad idea. Kind of like the way the Charger's going. They're going They went hatchback. I don't think it's a horrible idea at all. One of the biggest, downfalls of that car is, those who drove it everywhere like I drove mine, was the trunk was so small. You couldn't get a lot into it. Where that hatchback makes it more universal to do stuff, right? Andrew says Camaro 4 was the last original design. Jim says be right back. Z28 with 5.7 and an SS with a 6.6 would be cool. You know what? I don't hate it. I'd like to see I'd like to see an entry level. I'd like to see them go entry level V8, and like they did with my third gen, right? So the RS back then is not the RS it is today. So my RS had a V8 in it, but it wasn't tune port, and I was okay with it because I did not build my car to go fast. I built my car basically for looks and for me to enjoy based on what I wanted to do with it. But I would like to see an entry level V8, whether it be an RS Z28 be the entry level, um, or a sport coupe or whatever you want to call it. Put whatever word there, and it have that 5.7 in it. And then obviously, I agree with Pro Driver. Go with an SS with a 6.6. That would be cool. Get rid of the V6 and 4-cylinder options. I think you could do it today without diving into politics, and I try to keep politics out of my streams and out of my videos. I think you need it, Andrew. Right? I don't think you have to worry about as much today as you did 4 years ago, but I still think you need it there. You don't have to worry about the cafe standards at the moment. Okay, and I'm not diving into the politics, and I'm trying to keep the politics out of it. I still think you need that V6 and that 4-cylinder option there for somebody who wants to get into an entry level car, and didn't want the performance side of it, right? You know yourself, right? I've done videos on both cars, the 4s and the 6s. Those cars still had a lot of performance into them, even though they weren't V8. There is a demographic of people, a large demographic of people actually, who don't want a V8. If you look at the sales of the 5th and 6th gen, a majority of them were 6 and 4s. Some of them were rentals, but a majority of those, a good chunk of those sales were non V8 sales. So I think you need to have them there to make that car worth building. And if it means that we get to keep this car around for 5 to 10 years and have something that will subsidize the build of those cars, and that it comes in the sense of a 4 and a V6, then I say we do it. Again, you can say whatever you want. That's just my opinion. Okay. I'm just telling you what I see, what I know, and what I think would work. Right. This car can't be strictly V8 because you'll be into Cadillacs where you'll be selling 19,000 a year, and then the Camaro's gone in 2 years because they don't sell. Right. You need that lower base of vehicles with engine packages to attract to a larger audience to make that car worth building. Selling the car is not the problem, like we've discussed in the past. That's not the problem. The problem is not taking allocations and not taking orders. Those and marketing. Those are the 3 big problems that GM needs to fix immediately. If you want to walk in and put your money down on a new Camaro, whether that dealership's got allocation or not, GM should be taking your money. That is the biggest thing. That may be the only render I haven't seen. Oh, the one for GM Jim. I've seen some of the 3rd gen renderings. I like them a lot. Yeah, I tried to tinker with some of the 3rd gen renderings. I couldn't quite get the car to make it look the way I wanted to. Just give me 1 sec. I gotta help the dog. Want there? There you go. Now again, I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to using AI because I don't really like using a lot of it. So I need to brush up on it. But I couldn't get the 3rd gen renderings to look the way I wanted them to. And I've put some of those up. I've done videos on those as well. Look who it is, Mr. Brian. I'm late, but I'm here. It's all right, buddy. You're all good. We're probably going to go to about maybe 9 o'clock. It's not going to be an all-nighter. trying to make these a little more organized as we go, and trying to stay on track here. So right now we're just answering questions as to what the rendering should look like for the new Camaro. Turbo V6. Hey, if you guys, and I think Jim's watched it, and I know Andrew's watched it. If you guys watched my video, I did one probably a year ago, about what I think the new Camaro should look like. I'll put the link in the description here. I had said I think I used the wrong number, but I had said use the Cadillac twin turbo. The Cadillac twin turbo V6. Just caught up on my. Where's my? Oops. Hold on a second. There we are. I had said use the Cadillac twin turbo V6 as an option for the 5-woman. That video, that link I just put up. I said 5 engine options, and that was before I knew about the new V8. But I had said, use the 2.7, go from the 2-liter and use that truck engine, the 2.7. That 2.7. Well, a lot of you will agree that it may not work in a truck. It's good for a pavement princess who's not pulling anything serious. That 2.7 is a good motor. That Turbo Max is a good motor. So use that as your base motor, and then use like the twin turbo 3-liter, whatever it is in the Cadillac. 100%. The turbo V6s seem to be pretty popular, at least in pickup trucks. So, yeah, but you know what, Andrew? I don't disagree. But the Corvette buyer is a different buyer than the Camaro buyer, right? They're different. They're different demographics. Now, years ago, the gap used to be quite a bit different between the Camaro and the Corvette, where now the ZL1 versus the Stingray, I don't think the gap's as wide as it used to be. So maybe they're not the same. Maybe they are the same demographic today, but they never used to be, right? But I don't understand. Like GM can justify building. I don't know. Anybody want to Google how many? So I don't have to go from screen to screen and slow you guys down. Anybody want to Google how many Corvettes or Stingrays were sold last year? I don't think it was many. It was probably 40, 50,000, if that. So Google it. But Corvette's a whole other animal. It's always been a whole other animal. Just heard Matrox says, just heard Chevy's bringing back the 409. Well, the 6.6 would be close to a 409 cubic inch, right? Pro Driver 33 says no V6 Camaro would make no V6 Camaro would make high school so sad. You know what? Hey, I've always been a big fan of the 3.6. From a budgetary perspective of having a car that you can enjoy, and not having to dump a pile of fuel into it. 3.6 is no slouch. Max says they've always had 6-banger Camaros since the beginning of time. Yeah. The Iron Duke Camaros were not popular, and it didn't last long back in the 3rd gen. But I can tell you a story that my parents had a 77 Type LT. We had many Camaros when I was growing up, and that's part of the reason why I got sucked into all this. But we had a 77 Type LT with a straight 250 straight 6 in it. And that car, with a 3-speed standard, that car had more problems with it than I can remember. I remember walking on more occasions than I would like to admit, with my mom getting stranded with that car due to head gasket or or I think we've put at least one motor in that car. Like, so yeah, six bangers have been around for a while. It was updated catfish renderings. Oh, the updated catfish renderings I haven't seen. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That was my link. Pro Driver 33 says Gen 4.1 I like better. I want a green one with a super deep dish gold BBS RS wheels, as well as everything else to make it a track toy. Yeah, I will say that the cars are better built today than they were than the Gen 4 cars, where you had to do a fair amount. You had to do a fair amount of modifying to make that car rigid. For those who come up in the 4th gen world, it didn't take much to twist those 3rd gen and 4th gen cars. Many times I've had hard tops and T-tops, but I've never owned a 4th gen. Many times you could see the cracks in the corner right at the top of the door. So you had to put in subframe connectors and bigger sway bars and all those fun things. Hold on one second here. The dog's having an argument with somebody outside. The 2.7, the truck 2.7 is a stroke monster. It's practically a tractor engine. That 2.7 engine's a good engine. I don't know. Some will say it doesn't belong in a truck, but if you're just tooting around and you're not pulling a big trailer or anything, I think it'd be fine. Finnegan says the Corvette is a whole other price point too. I agree. Pro Driver 33 says I want Chevy to invest in Chevy to invest big bucks into a manual transmission for the C8 where the Grand Sport launch. The manual would be the jam. That would be the next thing that I hope that they don't screw with. But I could see it being on the chopping block. Now I don't know anything. I'm just giving you my opinion. I could see this car coming back. Oh, I got cramp in my leg. I could see this car coming back, and I could see it coming back with no manual. Hold on one second. Oh, wow, got cramp in the leg, boys. Hold on. I can see this car coming back with no manual, and I don't know why. I guess because manuals are a dying breed. I would hope that they wouldn't screw with that in a sports car. But I also wouldn't be surprised if that car come back as an automatic only. I don't see it happening, but I also wouldn't surprise me. And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just giving you my thoughts. 3.6. Sorry, guys, I got a leg cramp. 3.6 is peppy with a 6-speed manual. Yeah, I didn't like the manuals in the V6s. I found them way. Oh man, holy! I found them way too sensitive compared to the V8 cars. All right, see you, Jim. Take care, buddy. It does indeed take a lot of chassis reinforcement to fix all the Camaros. Yeah, it certainly does. And if you go overboard on them, like I went overboard on my 3rd gen, that car will ride worse than a Corvette, than an older Corvette. My 91, we did a lot of work to it, stiffening the chassis, and I never intended to track it, but it was track capable. In that car, you felt every bump in between the and I only put a mild lowering kit in it. Between their lowering kit, and the shocks and the bigger bars and all that, It was horrible at times to enjoy, and it was not my intention. It's just kind of what happened. Brian says total 2025 Stingray production reached 13,640 units, comprising 52% of the total 2025 Corvette output. It's a lot lower than I thought it was. I had said 40 to 60, but honestly, my number was around 25 to 30. That 13,000, that kind of surprises me. And that, and that's my point. 13,000 units. That car is mostly, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, is still hand built. And they're okay with selling 14,000 cars. Now, I don't know. I know what the higher end ones go for, but I don't, because I don't live in the US. I'm going to say that Stingray is what, probably 60,000 in the US. Up here, they're, I think, closer to 90, if I'm not mistaken, what I've seen. GM's okay with making $14,000, $90,000 cars, or $75,000 cars. Call it whatever you want. Bobby PRD says you think they will do a DCT in it. Sorry, what is a DCT? I'm just trying to take in. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. Apple cider vinegar shot in a glass of water helps the cramps pretty quickly. Yeah, well, the problem is I'm upstairs with the dog, and the fridge is downstairs. So it's probably because I'm sitting in an odd way. So I'll just sit here and work through it. I also want a Corvette R1 RS, a transactional into the Restro 4th gen, balance out the weight and help the handling. Absolutely. Sorry. Okay, yeah, right. Do I think they'll have a dual clutch transmission? Yeah, probably. I would imagine it would. I would think that they would. I don't see why they wouldn't. Again, I'm not suggesting that they don't put manuals in these cars, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they kind of steer away from the manuals, which I think is a complete mistake because, as much as I like an automatic because I'm an old man, I also know how fun that car is as a manual. So, I guess I just, that was something that kind of stuck with me. The speed of the shifts don't matter compared to the fine manual transmission is fine. I don't disagree. Like I said, I'm an old man. I want an automatic, but not that I can't drive gear. I've shifted enough gears in my life, but that car is not the same unless it's a manual. So I agree. I just hope that they don't do something stupid by not coming out with a manual option. Right. I think the big thing is if you've seen in any of my renderings, right, that roof line needs to be higher to make that car more appealing. Right. I don't doubt for 1 second that car's coming back, with V8s and 4s and 6s. As I said earlier, I think 5.7 will be, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see kind of like an LT1 budget entry level V8, like with that new 5.7 in it. And then, an SS with a 6.6 or a ZL1 with a 6.6 supercharged or whatever they're going to move that new. I don't know if you can make the LT5 work in that new car. I don't know if it's specific to the mid-engine design. Brian says 2027 Grand Sport will have a manual option. Yeah, that's a good sign. And maybe they're just doing away with manuals on the less important cars, like on the everyday cars, which will be good to see. Finnegan says, I think they will offer a manual to compete with the Mustang because Ford still offers the manual. Yeah, I hope so. if they want to do this right, that's one of the things that again, I hope they don't screw it up. And I don't know for sure. I just know that the manual is a dying breed, but it needs to be um, it needs to be there. And Kel says hi, Brian. Um, so for those that just came in and you're new here, make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I don't do a lot of lives, but probably going to try and do a couple more this year. I just thought it was important. I wanted to do this video and I was going to do it pre-recorded, but I wanted to have you guys here and get some of your feedback as to what you think, right? I asked a question earlier. Maybe I'll put that poll up again because we got a lot more people here than we did earlier. I don't even know if that stupid poll worked or not, but where's my poll? Oh, anyways, doesn't matter. I had said in the poll, if this car came back in the comment of what you may not expect is and I'm not saying this is the only option. I'm just saying if the car comes back as a 4-door or a hybrid V8, which would you consider of the two? And for me, I'm not opposed to electric and hybrid cars. I just don't think it belongs in a car like this one. Okay. I'm probably be okay with a 4-door. I think I'd be more okay with a 4-door than I would be with a hybrid Camaro. I say that, and I know how much excitement is around the ZR1 X, but I think that's because it's a Corvette thing. I think if you try that in a Camaro or in a Mustang or whatever, I don't think you'd get the same outcome, in my opinion. Brian says hi, Carmo. So that was what I had in the poll. Just what would you accept? Would you consider a 4-door or a hybrid V8? Not that again, not that I think that the hybrid V8 is going to be the only model. It may be a sub model, but it's certainly not going to be the first model in the market. And I don't even know if a hybrid's an option. I don't think it's a bad option using the basis of the ZR1X. But again, is that just a Corvette thing? You tell me. I don't know. We also talked about just keeping an eye on the time here. We also talked about what the new design should resemble. And a lot of you, I'm just recapping for the guys that just got here. My question to you guys was, what's the rendering should look like? And most of us agreed that it should move on from the Gen 5 and 6 cars. It needs to be something unique on its own. I think that if you've seen that Lethal Garage rendering that he did based on the GM design, I think you could take something from that, because if I remember correctly, when we seen the concept of the Gen 6, they didn't call it a Camaro at the time, but looking ahead to what we know today, that was the Gen 6 car in some areas of design. They changed some of it. They made it bigger because it was too small. But there are some cues that you could take from it. And I'm specifically talking about that yellow car that went around to all the shows and was on the internet. That ended up being the Gen 6 car, but with some changes. So I think you could take some styling cues from that GM design picture that was hung up and shown around and kind of flirted with. I think you could take some cues from it, but I don't think you take everything at face value. And I'll see if I can find that. I'll see if I can find that picture quickly to show you guys what I'm talking about. GM design. I can't find it, but I'll stop sharing that. We'll go to here. So I think if I look at, I'm talking about this one here that Lethal just did. That silver car, this silver car on his thumbnail is based on that GM design poster that was floated around. I think that you can take some cues from that, but I don't know how much I'd hang my hat on it, to be honest. Pro Driver says, supper is ready, gotta go. Go eat, buddy. Thanks for joining us. So I think, that's really it when it comes to that car. If there's anything you guys want to add, throw her up. But I think that if you watch some of the videos I've done with some of the renderings, I think you'll get an idea of what you can expect in that interior. Some of that goes back to that General Motors, the one that GM Jeff did of that orange car. If you see the way the dual screens are, it's kind of how I've been putting it out there of what I would expect that interior to kind of look like a little bit with the two horizontal screens. You see it in most of the GM cars now. So I suspect that you are going to see something like that in a new Camaro interior wise. I also think that interior that was floated around by GM in design also has those two horizontal screens. It just looks a lot better than the Mustang. And I think that you could kind of take some cues from that interior as well as to what I would expect the interior to look like. So you guys let me know in the comments after this is released as well what you think. If you're not watching it live now, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Share this video and subscribe if you're new here. So other than that, I really don't know what to think. Again, I said 30 days to 3 months, we should be hearing something official from GM saying that the Camaro's back. They did that with the Bolt, and about a year ago was when they started promoting that the Bolt was coming back. 8 months, eight months maybe, and they got that car. They got that car going 8 months now. Electric infrastructure is a lot different than doing another than doing a lot. I didn't even know you were here, Matt. I was just talking about your rendering that you did with the I don't know if you just came in. I was just talking about your rendering on your thumbnail, actually. Where was I? Oh, the electric infrastructure, building electric infrastructure car because the body's still the same for different cars is a lot different. I realize that. But Matt says, I have a feeling it'll be longer. Okay. And maybe I still, again, I still think it comes out as a 28. It might be late 27, early 28 before it comes out. But I still think the 28 number is still, in my opinion, I think it's still an accurate. I think it's still an accurate number. I just, possibly you could be right. They have a long way to go. They have a lot of. Now, Matt, you could answer this. How much difference between the Alpha and the Alpha 2 platform? I don't think there's much between them. Now, that's not to say that when that car is built, they have to safety test it and they have to do all that kind of stuff, right? I suspect that a lot of this may have been going on behind the scenes, and in the sense of having the concept test vehicles ready to go. But I don't think there's a lot to do. I don't think there's a lot between the Alpha and the Alpha 2 platform. Oh, okay. Matt says I made a few. It's just AI taking the design center concept. And I just said, Matt, about how much that I think that some of you guys could take some cues from that GM design poster. And we were also talking about, do you remember that yellow concept vehicle that floated around as the possible? I think they used it in one of the Transformer movies. That you could take some cues from that. It was never. I don't think it was ever marketed as the Camaro replacement because it was too small. They actually made the car bigger, but if you look at the front end of that yellow car, you get a lot of cues on the 6th gen from that yellow car. I don't know if you remember that or not. It floated around a lot of the car shows. I'm late to the chat, but I just hope it won't be electric car. I think everybody in this chat is with you. 27 would be cool for heritage, but they won't make that date. Um, yeah. Again, like I said, Matt, unless there's an awful lot's been done behind the scenes that we don't know about, um, you're probably right. It's the 20. It's not. 27 would make more sense than 28 because of a marketing perspective. But I don't think they're making 27. I don't think they're making 27 either. Um, Alpha 2 is lighter and more capable. If GM wants free marketing like the 5th gen, there's Transformers movies in production. 100%. And I talked about that in my opening about the difference between how the 6th gen numbers had never been good in comparison to the 5th. But yes, there was a long gap on the 5th. And I think that, but those 5th numbers always seem to do well. They dove a little bit here and there, but they always seem to do well. I think when the 6th come around, the 6th was so much like the 5th. I think people were just over it. So that's why you see the numbers fall like that. But again, the Transformer movie would absolutely help it. I think we need something new and fresh, right? That would certainly help it for sure. What else was I going to mention before? Oh, I know I was going to mention. So, as mentioned in that press thing, whatever. So it's going back to LGR. I personally, selfishly, I wanted to see it come back to Canada. I think the Oshawa boys did a fantastic job with the 5th gen, but I get it. LGR makes more sense having it there because of the Cadillac and everything else, and from a financial perspective of having the infrastructure for Cadillac and this new Buick car, hey, it makes sense to have it made where you can make 3 cars, not just the one, right? So, I guess if it's not going to be in Oshawa, I'm glad to see it's going back to LGR. Matt says, in fairness, the 6th gen, like Mustang, never got marketing love. Sales for both were not great, but overall the car was profitable for GM and allowed to keep the plant more busy. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier in the sense that the one thing that they need to fix and fix immediately is the allocation and the order process. So, how many people? I mean, Matt, yourself, your channel's a lot larger than mine. How many people did you hear about that said to you, I went into GM to put my money down to buy this car, and they wouldn't take my order because they didn't have allocation? Or I called around to 25 dealerships across the country to find out if somebody had allocation. Like, that needs to change, right? If you want to go in and put your money down, allocation should not dictate whether you get this car or not. That needs to change because that hindered a lot of the sales that people wanted to go out and actually put their money down on a car that they couldn't. So, there you go, right? I mean, I'm sure you heard about it way more than I did. Matt says GM will not change. They technically can't due to how they build the dealer network. I get that. I'd be interesting to hear from somebody at Ford how they if they're the same, because I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know if Ford's system is the same, like, or does their dealers have to have allocation as well? Like I don't really follow it like I do with the GM stuff. But I'd be interesting to know if Ford has the same problems that GM has. Um, Ford special cars are basically invite only. Yeah, but I'm just meaning, like, if I wanted to buy a new Mustang, like a 2027 Mustang or whatever, and my local dealer didn't have allocation, like, do they use the same process that GM does? That's what I'd be interesting to know, right? And GM needs to find a way to fix that, because like I said, too many times guys wanted to put money down on cars and they couldn't order one, or they ordered one and the plant shut down. That, I think, that you can't get away from for one reason or another. You can't get away from that. But the being able to order the car you want, unless it's, if it's a ZR1 or a ZR1X or whatever, one of those high end ones, then okay, maybe I can understand that. ZL1, whatever, I can understand that. I'm just saying in general that process, should really be fixed if they want to sell cars. So we have about 5 minutes left. I wanted to be done by 9 o'clock. If there's anything that you guys, if there's any other comments you guys want to or any other things you guys want to discuss about this new Camaro, put it in the chat and we'll cover it. I just wanted to briefly go on and just give some of you an update who follow the channel in the last couple minutes about why the name change and not really an overall direction of the channel, but kind of a direction of the channel. So, you know what, Matt? It is good to see more people talking about it again. It kind of leads into what I was just going to talk about. So, I've been around the Camaro game officially 25, 26 years. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up with the car, so I've kind of always had it in my blood. I've been involved in a lot of big events, and so I had the channel for, I had the YouTube login. It wasn't a channel, it was a login. So if you look at the profile, it says 15 years, but it wasn't 15 years. It was, whatever it was. We started the channel in 21 because we had the car club and all that, and then we kind of put the car club aside. But yes, I started this channel to cover Camaros, but then as things were starting to die down, it was like, you know what, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I want to start doing more. I want to expand and cover a lot more, and I didn't want to lose my audience doing it. Right now, we're never, and I've said this before, we're never going to turn our back on what made this channel as popular as it is with our subscribers. I would never do that, but I just wanted to offer more variety for you guys. While some of the Camaro stuff was laying low, and we had the honor of being involved in a lot of big events with this car, and I have a lot of experience with this car. Like I said, 25 years I've been around this car. But just offering our subscribers more variety and allowing me to cover more things. And some of it may not be popular with some guys, and that's okay. You guys watch what you want to watch and not watch what you don't want to watch, right? We'll get it sorted out. But I just thought because I haven't really had an opportunity to explain it, I thought I would do that for you guys and just briefly go over why the name changed from CCFPG to Garage to Kelmar Garage. And if you look at the banner of the channel, there's still a small thing there, right? We're still going to cover the Camaro stuff. It just seemed awkward having a Camaro channel, trying to cover other things, non-GM related or GM related, that wasn't Camaro. So I thought, you know what, let's start a new chapter by changing the name and just offering more options for you guys. So really, that's it. When it comes to that, well, you know, many of us are going to follow this. Brian says, how many Camaros did GM lend you for our shows? Six. Yeah, 6 cars. I think the biggest one, Brian, was, and I've told the story 100 times, about that first red car we had when that car wasn't even out yet. And remember when we were setting up, and it was 2009. I think it was 2009 Performance World. And that car wasn't out officially for sale yet. It was a CTF car that we that we had got. And I had drove it home that night because I didn't, for whatever reason, we couldn't set it up. So I think it ended up staying in my driveway that night. And one of the Peel police had come by and stopped, and I was just getting out of it, and I was a little worried because I was like, this is a GM vehicle, it's got plates on it, but all she wanted to do was she'd never seen the car, she didn't know what it was. She said, it looks like a Camaro. I said, well, that's what it is. It is a Camaro. It's going to be a 2010 Camaro. I said, this is kind of like a concept car, if you will. It's not a concept car, but it's a pre-production car, because that's what it was. It was a CTF car. And she was like, oh, I want to know more. Can I come see it? Can I come sit in it? And Brian, as you remember, that was the whole weekend, was just, nobody had ever seen this car before. And the whole weekend we kind of kept it by invite only, and I didn't want 10,000 people sitting in the car, and we were allowed to put people in it, but they wanted us to be very selective. So that's what we were selective. But yeah, to answer your question, Brian, I think it was around 6, but certainly that red one, that first red one that we had at Performance World in 09, was the one that was probably my favorite of them all, because nobody had seen this car to that point. So we're going to keep following this Camaro thing. I suspect that we will, Matt, I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not. I tend to say that I think it's more hope than anything, that we should hear something in the next 30 days to 3 months officially from GM, if this is actually going to happen, which I believe it is. I said in the beginning, I think this was kind of intentionally leaked. I've seen that playbook before. It's been a while, but I've seen that playbook before. I think it was intentionally leaked. So I suspect that 30 days to 3 months, we should be hearing something from GM, in the sense of, yes, this car is coming back. Oh yeah, North York. Sorry, one sec, Brian. 30 days to 3 months, we should be hearing something official from GM that this car is coming back. You're not going to get a ton of information at the beginning, but I think that once we see something from GM officially on board saying, yes, this car's coming back, it's going to be built at LGR with a new Buick sedan that we're introducing, or whatever, something along those lines, and I think people will buy into it a lot faster. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think. Brian says North York Chevrolet unveiling. Yeah, but that red car, Brian, was that red car might have been the same car as that one, but that yes, that red car was the same one as North York Chevy unveiling. But Performance World was before that, remember? Because it was still like early spring for Performance World, where that show was June, maybe July. It was July because we were in t-shirts that day. So that's it for this guy. That's it for this one, guys. I really appreciate everybody sticking around and listening to me babble. Again, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Give us a thumbs up so you let us know that you enjoyed the video. I think I'm going to the auto show and take over the. Yeah. Um, yeah, that was pretty impressive. So what my wife's referring to is um, in the early fifth gen release, we were invited by GM to come down to the floor and sort of kind of take over the GM display for the Camaros to help answer questions and that because they knew that we had a lot of experience with the car to that point with what was what the tech specs on the car and all that because we were at least I think 8 months into that point. We weren't lucky enough to be part of the early group because a lot of that happened in the U.S. But as far as Canada goes, we had a lot of experience to that auto show point in Toronto, where GM allowed us to come down and just kind of take over the Camaro booth and answer questions with the public, and that was a memorable thing as well. You're right. So I'm glad you brought that up, Cal. So, anyways, that's it for this one, guys. Really appreciate everybody sticking around again, listening to me babble. We're 9:05. We're about 5 minutes over what I wanted to be, but I thought it was important that we got together to have a chat about, um, you know, what you guys thought about this car, potential of this car coming back, and I do believe it is coming back. Carl says, I remember the lines of people wanting to take pictures and sharing their stories. It was a great time. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of goes back to what Matt said earlier about it's good to hear about people talking about Camaro. And at that point, I mean, when 03 hit or 02 hit, we thought, yeah, this car's never coming back. At least that's how I felt. Like, if it was coming back, it was going to be 20 years from now, or if at all. And that 5 or 6 years, 5 years, I guess it was, seemed like an eternity. For when it finally came back, it seemed like there was a big gap between the 02 and the 06 when it was officially announced, and then when we officially seen the car in, I guess it was 09, it really seemed like an eternity then. But yeah, people coming up to the booth and sharing their stories. Oh, I remember being a kid, and my parents having one and this one having one. And it was good times for sure. So again, let me know in the comments, guys, what you think, what you'd like to see for design wise, what it should resemble, hatchback, coupe. Should it resemble a second gen? Like, I think we're done with the first gen retro styling, but I believe a retro styling of some sort will be the way to go. I just don't know what that retro styling is going to be, but let me know what you want, what your wants are in the comments for those who couldn't join us live and who are watching this afterwards. And make sure you guys have thumbs up. Thanks for joining me tonight, and we will be back very soon. So stay tuned and take care.